Good morning. I'm Jack Cecil. I'm proud to be the chairman of the Institute for Emerging Issues National Advisory Board. And you'll notice that behind me at some point will be a list of all the other National Advisory Board members. Some of you are in the room this morning. Would you stand, please, and be recognized? And some of you are not here will be with us tonight at the reception. But I want to thank all of you, not only for your service to IEI, but also to NC State University, and more importantly, to the entire state. You guys do a wonderful job, and thank you for participating in our work. I'd also like to recognize members of the General Assembly who may be here now. I think we're expecting like 70 or 80 of them tonight at our reception. We have several members of the North Carolina Cabinet. The governor's here. We'll introduce him in a second. And members of our U.S. congressional and senatorial staff are here as well, and want to give them a shout out. So thank you very much as well. Those of you who were able to attend the first ever forum outside of Raleigh and Asheville back in November, we had over 400 people there. Thought that was a tremendous outpouring of interest in the topic, but today we're over 500, 550. So kudos for you for showing up, and thank you for your time to spend with us all day long. There's a number of things that we've learned, or I've learned already, some takeaways. One, you can't pigeonhole us between an urbanite and a rural person. We have city slickers, yes, and we have rural folk. It's not both and. It's really both and rather than either or. We're not opposites. The boundaries sort of are fuzzy, and it's always a multidimensional. It's like a 3-layer chessboard or checkers game. I'm a dairy farmer, and we have 600 head of cattle, so I can play that game, and I can also play the city slicker game if I have to. But I think it's really telling that we're all basically in this together for the betterment of North Carolina. I think we've also realized that there's a comparative advantage when we have stronger regions, when we come together. There's an economic benefit, there's a social benefit, there's a health benefit. We're stronger together than we are apart. And it's an enlightened self-interest that we ought to help each other, because it's not just one versus the other. And I think what Dana was pointing out when she threw away her notes, and you did notice she had an iPad, and I've got the old-fashioned way here. That's the difference in a millennium and a 60-year-old man. But what she was really trying to tell us, I think, is there's help and hope for everybody. We need to think out of the box. We need to connect everyone. Healthcare insurance, I like the way she sort of wiggled her way through that conversation. But there's real challenges affecting real people, and there's family members like ourselves, our co-workers, and our public employees that we need to be thinking through when we all come together on a day like today. And I also learned something else. Brian, your accent may be a little strange, but if you go to Ocracoke, you wouldn't be a foreigner. So there's still much more to come today, and I stand between you and hearing from the governor. But first, let me introduce the president and CEO of the Local Government Federal Credit Union, Maurice Smith. He's a tremendous leader here in North Carolina, had decades of service with credit unions. He's a licensed attorney. He's a deacon in the Waite Chapel Church here in Raleigh. He serves on many local, community, and national boards. Please let me introduce Maurice Smith.
Thank you, Jack. After listening to Dana's remarks earlier, I want to throw away my notes and have her come back up here and talk to you some more. But we have a program, so I'll stick to the agenda. LGFCU is a proud supporter of IEI, and both as a ReCONNECT North Carolina sponsor and a member of the Series Steering Committee for the broader work of engaging young people and for the conversations that's taking place in this room. At first glance, you may wonder, why is an organization like mine sponsoring an event like this? You would think ordinarily we would be here for advertising purposes or for brand recognition, hoping that you get to recognize our organization. So maybe one day if you want a car loan or a mortgage loan, you will think about us for business. But there's more to it. This is personal for us. It's personal for LGFCU, the Local Government Federal Credit Union, and it's personal for me. I want to take just a couple of minutes to explain why. LGFCU is not an ordinary financial institution. We are financial cooperative. We are owned by the members who do business with our institution. And so the folks who use our services are the owners. My dad told me a long time ago, when you own something, that makes you the boss. Now, I report to a 7-person board of directors. They come from local government, city and county government throughout the state. But we have 340,000 members. 1 in every 30 North Carolinians is a member of LGFCU. That means I have 340,000 bosses to keep happy, to talk to them about the services and the things that we offer. As a financial cooperative, we believe in democratic control. Every member of the credit union has an equal vote and an equal voice in how we operate our institution. We have this egalitarian philosophy that everybody should be treated equally. Something amazing happens when you're talking to a member about your institution and about their prospects for financial security, preparing for taking care of their children, for preparing for retirement, for building a home, creating wealth for themselves and their communities. This is what we are focused on as a cooperative, as a financial institution. And so what we do here with the IEI and with ReCONNECT North Carolina is really speaking volumes to our institution and to the soul of what we do. But this is personal for me as well. I'm a lifelong North Carolinian. I have spent my entire 40-year career in credit unions in this state. My wife and I are on a quest to see all 50 states. We're about 42 on the number now. And I've seen some amazing things in this country, but I have seen no place that matches the hospitality, that matches the scenery, that matches the opportunities and the goodness of North Carolina. And so what IEI is doing, what ReCONNECT North Carolina, the conversations and the dialogues that you're having, this really touches very close to our heart as to what we're trying to do as an institution for the state and what I believe my civic responsibilities as a citizen of this state to focus on as well. Now I have the opportunity, and I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, which is North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper. Absolutely. I have a statement here to share with you. Governor Roy Cooper was born and raised in Nash County, where he attended public schools and worked summers on the family farm before receiving undergraduate and law degrees from UNC Chapel Hill. He practiced law for 18 years in Rocky Mount, where he and his wife Kristen raised 3 daughters. Governor Cooper entered public service in North Carolina State House and State Senate, where he focused on raising teacher pay, reducing class sizes, writing North Carolina's first children's health insurance initiative. After being elected Attorney General in 2000, Governor Cooper served 4 consecutive terms. As North Carolina's 75th governor, Governor Cooper's priorities have been job creation, public education, opioid reduction, revitalizing rural communities, and improving worker training with the goal of creating a North Carolina that works for everyone. Governor Cooper's full bio can be found on IEI's website. Please stand and help me welcome Governor Roy Cooper to the stage.
Thank you, Maurice. Thank you, so many friends and thought leaders in North Carolina that I see out there. Lunch is at 12:40. It is now 12:38. I've faced a lot of challenges in my 2 years as governor. This may be the most challenging. Just give me a little bit more time, and I hope I will make it worth it for you. Maurice, thank you for that kind introduction. Leslie Boney, thank you for your work. Chancellor Woodson, glad to see you here. Other legislators, local government officials, leaders in North Carolina, thank you for what you do and who you are. We all agree, no doubt, that North Carolina is an exceptional place to live, start a business, raise a family. From our dynamic cities to our welcoming small towns and rural areas. We know that rural areas face some of their greatest challenges in attracting new people, new businesses, and keeping their young people there. And we know some of the biggest challenges of our urban areas are dealing with rapid growth in a positive, sustainable way. Yeah, there's a rural-urban divide. But as leaders in this room, as we have already heard, we can focus on issues and solutions that can make all of our communities stronger. My favorite saying is a rising tide floats all boats, and there is no doubt about that. In North Carolina, I've been on a mission, and this is it. I want a North Carolina where people are better educated, where they're healthier, where they have more money in their pockets, and they have opportunities to live a more abundant and purposeful life. I say that every day. I say that to my staff and to my cabinet members. That is my CEO mission statement. And we're working on it every day. We've announced over 40,000 new jobs the first 2 years, from in the rural area, Triangle Tire, where we're trying to focus on advanced manufacturing and making sure that agriculture works in a better way, to getting Honeywell to move its corporate headquarters from New Jersey to Charlotte, North Carolina, the second most dynamic banking city in the country. We're working hard to increase our transportation options, both public transportation and better roads. In a bipartisan way, we passed Bill NC, which will help us level up transportation funding, and already we've been able to do that. We've made our state more welcoming. We repealed the horrible House Bill 2. We've said to not only the rest of this country, but the world, North Carolina is a welcoming place. We are open for business. All parts of our state want you here. We believe strongly in inclusion. We're going to fight discrimination at every turn. I've appointed by far the most diverse cabinet in the history of our state. I also think it is the most qualified and competent. And I believe strongly that our governments, local, state, and federal, should look like the people that it serves and protects. We've pulled together, thank you. We have pulled together for disaster relief. We know that when one area of our state is hurting, all of us hurt. And I'm so grateful that so many of you have pulled together when we faced the tragedy of Hurricane Florence, where we lost 43 lives, and it cost us $17 billion in economic damage and much more in mental and emotional distress. We're working hard to rebuild smarter and stronger. We're learning a lot of lessons that are going to help all of us. One area in particular, affordable housing. We know that's an issue in our rural areas, and this hurricane put a magnifying glass on a problem that already exists. But the ideas that we glean from fighting for affordable housing in our rural areas can be transferred to our urban areas that are facing it in many more numbers, but we know it's a problem that continues to exist. We're working hard to make sure that we recover in our areas of agriculture, commercial fishing, tourism, because the loss of tax revenue hurts all of us, but we want our people to pull together to make sure we recover. I've told this story before, but I met so many people as we worked to recover from this storm, and I'm still, most every week, going to areas that were hit because we know how long this recovery is. Having grown up in Rocky Mount and having been through the Hurricane Floyd that went through Rocky Mount, I know how long that it takes. But I saw a woman in a shelter. she had a few possessions on her cot, and she told me the story about how a Wilmington firefighter came into her apartment and said, "We have to leave now." Water was rushing under the door. She grabbed a few things. The first responder took her to a boat, got her to this shelter, and she didn't have anything else to her name other than what she had on that cot. And I leaned down and I told her, "I'm so sorry." She said, "You know what? I thank God for that firefighter who pulled me out of my apartment. And I thank God that I am alive. And I thank God for all of these people who are in this shelter who are helping me. And I've talked to a number of them, and many of them had flooding in their own homes, yet they are here." She said, "You know what? I'm going to make it." And I left that place thinking, I have a responsibility, and all of us have a responsibility to make sure she makes it. We're going to recover from these storms. We're going to be smarter and more resilient about how we rebuild. And I know that North Carolina will continue to move in a positive direction. But there are strategies that can help us all. And the first one is education. And I was with a group of Republican and Democratic legislators the other day, and we were talking about some of our differences on education, from private school vouchers to how far charter schools should go, to whether we should slap a letter grade on schools to try to tell people how good they are about school choice, etc. And I said, how about this? Let's figure out what we can agree on. And you know what we agreed on? That a good teacher in every classroom and a good principal in every school gets you a long way toward great public education. So that means, in order to help our rural and urban areas, repairing this educator pipeline is critical. To do that, we have to make sure that our teacher salaries are at least to the national average in the next few years. But on top of that, we should make sure we restore the respect that rightly should be given to our public school educators. And that means that thought leaders like you, everywhere you go, should be talking about the positive things that are happening in our schools. And believe me, when you go there, you will see good things happening. And what we need to do is to make sure we tell people it's a good thing to be going into public education. I've said this too many times publicly, so cat's out of the bag. This is a very private thing with family, but I got 3 daughters, and they're doing great, and they're all successful. One of them is thinking about going back and getting her teaching certificate. The other 2 said, "You're just trying to be daddy's favorite, is what you're trying to do." When I go into public schools, I ask kids in the class when I visit, no matter what grade, how many of you are thinking about being a public school teacher? Not enough hands go up. What we need to do, not only to talk about the good things, but we need to incentivize making sure these educators with their master's degrees and others, to make sure that we know that they are valuable. And we need to have the most robust teaching fellows program that we can think of to make sure that we get more teachers into the profession. We can do this. This can be a public-private partnership. Can you imagine just saying to a young person, "Hey, we'll pay for 4 years of your college," and believe me, that's a big thing these days when we're talking about affordable education and middle-class families figuring out how they're going to educate their kids. "We will pay for 4 years of your college if you will in turn agree to give us at least 4 years as an educator in our public schools." When we first started this, I was on one of the first interview teams. And I said, we're getting the top of the class. We're getting the very best kids who are agreeing to come and be teachers in our public schools. Why can't we do this in a big way? And not only that, send the signal to the rest of the kids that this is an important thing This is something I should be thinking about, regardless of whether I get this scholarship. And we have to invest in education from cradle to career. Our early childhood action plan, you should look at it if you haven't yet. We know that it starts even before birth, but certainly at birth. We know we make amazing strides with kids with early childhood education. Investing in pre-K. We've got to pay our pre-K teachers more. We've got to create more capacity for pre-K. We've got to make sure our K through 12 schools are good, and increasing that educator pipeline is important. But we also know that our community colleges and our universities are some of the best in the country, and this is where we're going to get our quality workforce. We're working hard with NC Job Ready and with our NC Grow scholarships. I believe that we ought to make community college available for everyone. That idea didn't go as far in the General Assembly as I wanted it to last time, and we've sort of refined this to, okay, let's provide community college for everybody who's willing to go into a high-demand field. Everybody who's at a business here in this room has open jobs. You've got jobs available right now in high-demand fields. We need to attract those people there. Finally, I'm going to end on this note. Part of my mission is a healthier North Carolina on top of economic development. Now, suppose I told you that we had an economic development project that was going to bring in, on a recurring basis, $4 billion a year into our state. And suppose I told you that it was going to create between 30 to 40,000 new, good-paying jobs. And what if I told you that this business was going to come in and help control health insurance premiums for everybody else? Because other states that have decided to have this business have seen a 7% reduction in private health insurance premiums because of this business. And what if I told you that, embarrassingly, in North Carolina, we have about 30,000 veterans who do not have health insurance, and that this new business that we brought in could provide health insurance to 23,000 of them? And what if I told you that our law enforcement officers, our sheriffs and police chiefs, will tell you how frustrating it is for them to have to deal with people with mental health issues, with substance use disorder? I've talked to too many parents who've seen kids die with overdose. These law enforcement officers are taking all of this time to deal with that, and they will tell you that these people don't need to be in jails. They need treatment. And what if I were to tell you that we believe we have a way to have health providers keep this from requiring any additional state tax revenue? What if I told you that we could do that? Well, we can if we say yes. We have to expand health insurance. And we cannot tiptoe around it. This is one of the defining issues of our time. Republican Governor John Kasich of Ohio said, "Thank God we expanded Medicaid," is what he said. And he said that because he saw, for example, Dayton, Ohio's overdose deaths being reduced by 54%. Because when you do this, you attract providers. We're going to be able to insure 500,000 to 600,000 more people who don't have it now. And we're going to be able to help these rural hospitals that are struggling on the line. We're going to be able to infuse in the economy more economic activity. Now, some people may worry about the future. And remember, we're talking about federal tax money that we've already paid to Washington that's not coming back to North Carolina, but is going to 37 other states. What we have here is an opportunity. Some people say worry about the cost. Well, let's just talk about what just happened in the last couple of years. This expansion went forward. Many states took it. You had a President of the United States, you had a Congress, and you had a United States Senate that were all trying to kill it. But people came to Washington, including governors, the CEOs of these states, both red and blue, and they said, don't stop something that is working. When more people are insured, we are healthier. We have a better economy. Our employees perform better. And when you have indigent people who don't have access to health care, they wait until they get very sick, and the place they go, the emergency room, is the most expensive place that you can possibly go. And guess who pays for it? All of us, with cost shifting that goes on with providers. We need all of us to make this a top issue. This is a business issue. This is a bottom line issue. This is a rural-urban issue. This is one that I believe we can come together and find a common sense way to move forward with a North Carolina plan that is special to us. And I believe both sides of the aisle want to make sure that we take this common sense step. But we have to be talking about it every day. And we have to be talking with legislators about how we can make this happen. We've got a lot of other issues that we need to tackle. And I will tell you this, as I go about the state of North Carolina, I'm excited about the things that we're able to do with our Hometown Strong, where we're connecting rural counties, with our ideas on expanding broadband, with the ideas that come from problems in rural and urban areas where you think about, wow, some of those problems really aren't that different, but they're on a different scale. And ideas about how to solve them are transferable. We are all in this together, folks. I am so grateful for all of you. I love this state. I cherish every day that I have in this job to help move our state forward for the good of all North Carolina. Urban, rural, mountains, sea, Pinehurst, wherever you are in our great state, we know that we're number one. And I want to work with you to make sure that this is a North Carolina that works for everyone. Thank you very much.